welcome to the deep dive. Maybe turn down the lights for this one. Put on the noise-canceling headphones. We're about to go deep.
Yeah, really deep into something that sounds, well, almost like a paradox, doesn't it?
It does. It's reshaping the whole world economy right now, as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
Rewriting the rules of how wealth is even created.
It's this absolutely astounding concept. It feels like hyperbole, pure exaggeration, until you actually look at the trends, the raw data.
We're talking about the ultimate goal, maybe, in this new world of entrepreneurship. The solo unicorn.
The one-person billion-dollar company.
Exactly. And the central question, the almost unbelievable thing we have to figure out today for you is this.
Yeah.
How is it even possible that one person, maybe sitting behind a laptop right now, commanding just a handful of digital systems, how can they create the kind of value, the sheer output that just a few years ago needed, what, 1,000 employees?
Oh, easily. And massive factories, endless layers of management, those complex org charts, years and years of just grinding to scale up.
Historically, that was just impossible, right? Scaling a product, finding customers globally, running operations.
It demanded so much human capital. Huge infrastructure investments. The coordination costs alone were astronomical. Only the megacore could even play that game.
But the ground beneath our feet, the foundational technology, it's completely changed.
And our sources are really clear on this. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's a prediction, a serious one, rooted in trends we can actually measure right now.
You've got people like OpenAI CEO Sam Altman saying the one-person billion-dollar company is, well, it's imaginable now, directly because of AI.
He called AI the greatest wealth creation engine in human history. That's a pretty bold statement.
It is. And the timeline he and others are suggesting, it's wild. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei said it with, like, total confidence.
Yeah, I saw that quote.
He thinks we might see the first real solo unicorn as soon as 2026.
It's next year, basically, or the year after. It's the convergence, isn't it? It's advanced AI agents, these hyper-efficient automation tools, this distributed digital infrastructure. It's all coming together.
So our mission today, our deep dive, is to explore that blueprint, the actual mechanism, the tools people are using, and, yeah, the risks, too. What makes this rise of the solopreneur seem, well, maybe not just imaginable, but kind of inevitable?
It's a fascinating puzzle.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's explore how one human, alone, might actually build a billion-dollar company. Hashtag #2. ACT1, the era of impossible possibilities.
Right. So to really get how one person could command that kind of value, $1 billion, we first need to look back a bit at what some sources call the Great Compression.
The era just before this AI explosion kicked off.
Exactly. The old world has required a huge fixed cost base, primarily people. Human capital was everything.
But hang on, even before AI got really sophisticated, the internet itself had already planted the seeds for this, right? We saw companies that were incredibly lean, generating enormous value with tiny teams.
Absolutely. You have to remember the efficiency levels we already reached. Think about WhatsApp.
Yeah, Facebook bought them for, what was it, $19 billion?
$19 billion. And they only had 55 employees at the time.
Wow. So if you do the math on that, that's like $345 million in value per employee. That's staggering.
It really is. And if you want even leaner examples, look at Instagram.
Right, acquired for $1 billion.
With just 13 people on the team? 13?
And Minecraft. Mojang.
Sold to Microsoft for $2.5 billion. They reported having only 40 employees.
Okay, so these weren't solo unicorns, obviously. But they proved something fundamental, didn't they?
They proved that massive value was no longer chained to massive headcount. That link was broken.
And that break was possible because of that early digital infrastructure.
Precisely. Things like, cheap cloud computing on demand, AWS being the big one, remote collaboration tools suddenly popping up, Slack, Zoom.
Payment processing APIs anyone could use, like Stripe. E-commerce platforms making it easy to sell online.
Yeah, all that stuff. That infrastructure dramatically lowered what economists call coordination costs.
Meaning, like, the cost of just getting everyone working together.
Exactly. In the past, coordinating 100 people was complex and expensive. Now, coordinating 10 different software services, 10 servers, it costs almost nothing in comparison.
So that initial compression set the stage. It created the era of the micro enterprise, the small, nimble digital business.
And now, AI takes that compression and puts it on steroids. It's accelerating it exponentially. It's transforming the lean startup we just talked about
into the potential solo startup.
Which brings us right back to Sam Altman's vision. AI isn't just another tool on the belt.
No, he sees it as a power redistributor. fundamentally changing who holds the economic power.
His argument is that because AI can compress maybe decades of certain kinds of work into days or even hours.
It lets one single person, if they're leveraged correctly, achieve the kind of output that used to require entire corporations.
The barrier to entry for building something huge, something unicorn level, is just crumbling because the need for vast amounts of human labor is being replaced by the availability of these incredibly powerful digital systems.
Okay, but that requires a different way of thinking, doesn't it? About leverage.
Absolutely fundamental. The solo founder isn't competing based on how many hours they work. That's the old way. They're competing on leverage.
And what does leverage mean in this context?
Well, sources point to three key forms: ideas, code, and capital. But here, code isn't just software you write, it's also the AI systems you command, the automation you build.
So the solo founder uses AI and code to amplify their core idea, to scale their operations almost instantly.
Without needing to hire legions of people, the AI is the legion.
And we're already seeing this shift culturally, right? This bootstrap solo founder era you hear about.
Definitely. There's data showing more and more startups, like those using Carta for cap table management, are solo founders, and often they haven't taken any VC funding.
They're the indie hackers, building in public, often.
And some of them are showing efficiency levels that are just off the charts, pointing towards that billion-dollar possibility.
Like who? Are there specific examples?
Well, consider the folks behind Cursor, the AI coding tool. Reports suggest they generated something like $100 million in revenue with a remarkably small team. It validates this hyper-efficient digital product model.
Okay, that's impressive. But what about closer to the solo ideal?
Base 44 is a really interesting case study in speed and solo drive, built by one founder
Right.
over just 6 months, and then sold to Wix for nearly $80 million.
Wow, 6 months.
Now, there's a small caveat. He did bring on about 8 people right at the very end, before the deal closed, probably to show Wix there was some organizational structure there.
Okay, fair enough. But the bulk of the value creation in that incredibly short time.
Was primarily a solo effort, moving at lightning speed. That's the key takeaway.
And there are even more recent examples, aren't there?
Yeah, GenSpark, a consumer AI agent company, only 24 people.
And they hit.
$36 million in annual recurring revenue, ARR, in just 45 days from launch.
45 days. That's insane.
It highlights the crucial point for you, the listener. It's the speed of growth combined with the incredibly low headcount. This is fundamentally rewriting our definition of what a successful, fast-growing company even looks like.
It feels like a power shift, too. Almost an emotional one.
How do you mean?
Well, just the image. The quiet power of one individual directing these complex systems, replacing that old reliance on big bureaucratic corporations.
Yeah, the limitation isn't the number of hours in the day anymore. It's the efficiency and the scale of the invisible digital workforce you command. The ceiling just got much, much higher. Hashtag tag 3 ACT2, the blueprint of a one-person empire. The mechanism.
Okay, so if this extreme efficiency is the new normal, or the new possibility at least, the big question becomes how? What does the actual machine look like inside?
Right. We know the potential destination, the solo unicorn, but what's the actual mechanism? How does it function day to day?
And the core shift seems to be in the founder's role itself, right? It changes completely.
Massively, irreversibly. The solo founder stops being a hands-on knowledge worker in the traditional sense. They're not the one writing all the code or answering every customer email anymore.
So what are they doing?
They become essentially a system architect.
Okay, unpack that. What does a system architect do in this context?
That's probably the most critical distinction for you to grasp. They aren't doing the tasks. They are designing the entire structure, the whole ecosystem of digital systems.
Like designing an organization, but with AI instead of people.
Exactly. Their main job becomes what some sources call system syncing. That means designing, integrating, managing this whole network of different AI agents, making sure they work together smoothly.
Without blowing things up, as one source put it.
Right. And blowing things up can mean a lot of things. It could be agents giving conflicting information to customers. It could be data not flowing correctly from the marketing AI to the sales automation tool.
Debugging complex chains of prompts given to these AI models.
Yeah, ensuring the outputs make sense, that the agents stay on track. It's not just having the vision, it requires some serious technical and architectural chops. You need to understand how these systems interact.
So it's not enough to just have a great idea. You need a specific skill set.
You need to be what's described as a specialized generalist,
Meaning,
meaning you need deep expertise in one core area. Maybe that's the product itself, the unique value it offers. But you also need a solid working understanding of everything else.
design, branding, marketing, sales.
And crucially, how the underlying AI models actually work. You don't need to be able to build GPT from scratch, but you need to know how to prompt it effectively, how to chain commands, how to orchestrate these different AI tools. Hashtag automation as workforce, the digital team.
Okay, so the founder is the architect, but the building blocks, the workers, are the AI agents themselves.
Right. And we need to be really clear what we mean by AI agents here. They're not just simple chatbots.
Yeah.
No. Think of them as software embeddings of human workflows. You can give them complex tasks, goals, and they can make autonomous decisions using context based on the parameters you set.
So they function like actual non-human employees.
In many ways, yes. And this isn't some future prediction, it's happening now. These agents are already entering the workforce, taking on significant white-collar roles.
Like what?
Well, you've got Harvey AI being used by law firms to sift through legal documents, draft summaries, do initial case research.
Okay.
You've got Cognition Lab's Devin, which they're marketing as the world's first AI software engineer, claiming it can autonomously handle complex coding tasks from start to finish.
Wow, an AI engineer.
And what's really telling, I think, is how traditional business software is adapting.
How so?
Companies like Lattice, a big player in HR software, are literally giving these digital workers employee records. They show up on the virtual org chart.
Seriously, with like a profile picture.
Sometimes, yeah. With an assigned manager, performance metrics, they're being integrated structurally, just like human employees.
Yeah.
Except, of course, they don't need paychecks or benefits.
So the solo founder isn't hiring people, they're deploying specialized agents.
Exactly. And platforms are emerging specifically for this. Relevance AI is one example. It lets a founder essentially build and manage a digital team instantly.
So instead of posting a job for a business development rep,
You deploy an AI BDR agent, maybe using a pre-built template, and customize its goals and knowledge base. Same for research, marketing, customer support.
and the founder's job is to train them or configure them.
Kind of both. Equipping them with superpowers, as one source called it. This means setting up custom integrations, crafting really sophisticated chains of prompts, sequences of instructions that let the agent handle complex multi-step tasks.
Like research competitors, summarize their pricing, draft 3 counteroffers, and schedule follow-up emails.
Precisely. It's purpose-built automation designed to deliver human-quality work 204/7, freeing up the founder to focus purely on strategy, vision, and improving the core product. Hashtag the core AI stack. Specific tools.
Okay, so the founder is the architect, the agents are the workforce. What about the actual tools, the specific software that makes this possible?
Right. These are the building blocks, the tools that effectively replace entire traditional departments.
Let's break that down. What about, say, content and marketing? That's usually a huge team effort.
The compression there is just stunning. You have tools like God of Prompt, which gives you access to like 30,000 expertly crafted prompts.
For things like ChatGPT, Claude, Midjourney for images.
Exactly. It integrates directly.
Yeah.
Users report saving massive amounts of time, maybe 20 hours a week, just on getting the basic content creation done right. That's huge for a solo operator.
And what about keeping the brand consistent across all that content?
Tools like Jasper AI focus on that. They offer a suite of, I think, over 90 specialized marketing apps within their platform. It helps generate social media posts, blog articles, emails, all while maintaining a consistent brand voice you define upfront.
And Copy.ai.
That complements Jasper by providing loads of pre-built templates specifically for high conversion stuff like ad copy, landing pages. It lets you bypass needing a dedicated copywriting team, or at least drastically reduce the need for one.
Okay, that covers marketing. What about the engine room, operations, workflow, just making everything run smoothly?
That's where automation platforms like Zapier AI become absolutely critical. It's the glue.
Connecting all the different apps together.
Yeah, it links over 7,000 different apps now, I think. It automates those repetitive manual tasks without needing to write any custom code.
And the impact can be huge, right?
We see companies reporting savings of like $500,000 a year or more in overhead, just from automating workflows. That shows how one well-configured Zapier setup can genuinely replace the coordination work of maybe a 10-person admin team.
That's exactly the kind of leverage a solo founder needs to even think about unicorn scale.
And then for the really high-level stuff like forecasting and decision-making.
Traditionally done by expensive data analysts.
Exactly. Now you have tools like Pecan AI. It makes predictive analytics accessible, even if you're not a data scientist.
So a solo founder could use it to predict customer churn or lifetime value.
Yeah, and build their first predictive model in just a few days, pulling data from all those other automated systems. It's incredibly powerful for making strategic choices.
What about customer interaction?
Yeah.
That feels like a big human bottleneck.
Increasingly automated, too. You've got AI assistants like Rosie that can handle phone calls 24/7, scheduling appointments, capturing leads.
And chatbots?
Definitely. Advanced ones like Tidio's Lyro AI agent can apparently handle up to 64% of customer conversations across chat, email, social media. The solo founder is effectively always on, providing instant support even while they sleep. Finally, there's the core creative and technical work itself, building the actual product.
This is where the virtual company stack comes in.
Right. Using the best-in-class foundation models for specific tasks, GPT for generating high-quality text, Runway for creating professional-looking video.
11 labs for synthetic voice. That company's valuation shot up recently, didn't it?
Over $1 billion, yeah. And then tools like Replit for collaborative code development, rapid prototyping, and deployment.
So you stitch these specialized tools together.
And you essentially create a virtual company run by one architect commanding these specialized AI agents.
It really hammers home that key insight, doesn't it? It's not one person frantically doing everything.
No, absolutely not. It's one person acting as the conductor, the system architect, commanding potentially thousands of invisible specialized agents executing the entire workflow of a corporation. #tag product that scales infinite growth and economic leverage.
Okay, that's the how of the operation.
Mhm.
But for this whole thing to reach $1 billion valuation, the product itself has to be special.
Right. Absolutely critical. It can't be something that relies on the founder's direct time for delivery or ongoing maintenance. That doesn't scale.
So what kind of product are we talking about?
It has to be a scalable digital asset. Think software, especially software as a service, SaaS, or proprietary AI tools built on top of foundation models. Could also be highly leveraged information products or media with massive reach.
And sources mention some specific criteria for a product with solo unicorn potential.
Yeah, a few key things. It almost certainly needs to be SaaS with an exceptionally high gross margin.
Meaning the cost of adding one more user is almost zero.
Pretty much. The cost to deliver the service to the millionth customer should be barely more than the cost for the 10th customer. That's crucial.
What else?
Low dependency on human interaction for the actual delivery of the service, and ideally operating in markets with minimal regulation.
Why minimal regulation?
Because navigating complex compliance rules often requires large legal and operational teams, which breaks the solo model.
Got it. And the underlying economics here. It's all about this no marginal cost idea.
That's the absolute bedrock. Once you've built the initial system, the software, the automation scaling it doesn't require hiring more people in proportion.
You just need more server capacity, maybe.
Exactly. Digital replication is practically free. So profits can scale directly, almost vertically, with reach, because you don't have that ever-increasing human overhead, the salary costs.
Can you maybe illustrate that difference for listeners? The linear versus geometric growth.
Sure. Think about a traditional consulting firm. To double your revenue, what do you generally need to do?
Hire twice as many consultants, probably. Double your staff.
Right. That's linear growth. Your costs grow roughly in line with your revenue. Now contrast that with selling an automated AI-powered SaaS tool.
Okay.
To double your revenue, maybe you need to pay a bit more for cloud hosting. Perhaps your costs increase by, say, 2%. But the rest of that doubled revenue.
It's almost pure profit.
Exactly. That's geometric growth. And that is the economic engine that makes it even conceivable for one person to reach $1 billion valuation. #, leads and cash flow automation, the invisible funnel.
So the product scales infinitely.
Yeah.
How do you get the customer, how does the sales process work without, well, salespeople?
The sales structure is radically different. It basically eliminates the traditional sales team, the endless meetings, the demo.
It becomes an invisible automated machine?
Pretty much. A self-sustaining system that converts attention into revenue automatically, 247.
And the cash flow model changes fundamentally too.
Because automation transforms those fixed labor costs, the salaries you pay every single month, whether you make sales or not, into primarily one-time system setup costs.
So you build the automation once.
And then it keeps working fair. This means automation turns activity into assets. The automated marketing funnel, the automated sales sequence, The system itself becomes the asset generating the revenue.
What does that typical automated funnel look like?
It often starts with what's called a content magnet, usually a piece of highly engaging, maybe even viral content. Think TikTok, YouTube Shorts, a really insightful newsletter issue, something to grab initial attention.
Okay, get eyeballs. Then what?
Then you offer a value magnet. Something valuable in exchange for contact info, usually an email address, could be a free ebook, a custom checklist, access to a simple tool, a diagnostic report.
Or like the lead.
Exactly. That lead data then feeds directly into the automation system. This is where AI-powered email sequences, personalized chatbots, maybe even automated webinars take over, nurturing the lead, educating them, and ultimately converting attention into a sale.
All without human intervention.
Ideally, yes, for the vast majority of leads. And then for those who don't convert immediately, automated retargeting systems kick in, showing them relevant ads across the web to bring them back into the funnel passively.
So the founder sets the strategy, creates the core message, builds the product.
But the system handles the day-to-day grind of nurturing, following up, closing sales, and even reporting on the results.
And because the profit isn't immediately eaten up by salaries?
It can be instantly reinvested, either back into improving the automation, making the system even smarter, or into highly targeted digital ads to feed more attention into the top of the funnel. Cash flow grows geometrically, not linearly. The system compounds. #4, ACT3, the new economy of one.
This whole architectural shift, it's not just about individual founders getting rich, is it? The macroeconomic implications seem enormous.
Oh, staggering, extending far beyond the founders themselves. Remember Sam Altman's warning? It was sort of a two-punch combo.
First, software will eat the world. We've seen that play out.
And then the follow-up, AI will eat software.
Meaning?
The implication is profound. Once AI gets really good at writing, debugging, and improving code itself, the most valuable human in the chain might not be the rank-and-file software engineer anymore.
It's the person who can architect and manage the system that uses the AI, the system architect we talked about.
Exactly. And concurrently, we're likely to see, and are already seeing, a decline in roles that are easily automated. Repetitive administrative tasks, certain kinds of analysis, middle management roles focused on coordination.
These are the roles most vulnerable to being replaced by efficient AI systems.
Which leads to this idea of the rise of the microfounder.
Not necessarily unicorns, but
Millions of individuals, potentially, using this AI leverage to build highly profitable, maybe 6- or 7-figure microenterprises, operating essentially as one-person corporations.
it feels like a democratization of entrepreneurial ability in a way.
Yeah.
Breaking free from the need for traditional corporate structures to build something significant.
And you see companies actively trying to foster this. Startup studios like Otto's have this explicit mission: help everyday entrepreneurs create million-dollar AI companies.
Wow.
By leveraging social media algorithms to find niche customers easily and using readily available AI tools, so founders don't necessarily need deep technical skills or huge startup capital. They frame it as liberation, leveling the playing field.
But there's a tension here, isn't there? The speed of this change.
That's the friction point. Analysts like Benjamin Liu from Formation Bio point this out. The pace of AI development is just so incredibly fast.
That society, the job market, education systems, they might not be able to adapt quickly enough.
So while the solo unicorn represents this amazing opportunity at the peak, it also implies potentially significant, maybe painful disruption for many in the conventional workforce, especially in the short term.
Which brings us smack into the middle of this big debate, doesn't it? The philosophical side, but also the practical realities.
Absolutely. On one hand, the potential for individual liberation seems immense. That old barrier needing huge amounts of venture capital, needing to recruit and manage big teams just to attempt something ambitious.
That barrier feels like it's dissolving. Anyone with a great idea, the right leverage, and the execution skills could potentially build generational wealth now.
That's the optimistic view, the liberation argument.
But then you have the other side, the skepticism. Isn't this solo model incredibly fragile? Does all that efficiency come at the cost of unacceptable risk?
That's a very valid concern. And one of the biggest hurdles often cited is trust in relationships.
Meaning?
Go-to-market strategies, especially in B2B or high-value consumer sales, often depend heavily on building genuine human-to-human trust, rapport, understanding nuance.
Things that are really hard, maybe impossible to fully automate convincingly, right? Especially when large sums of money or complex partnerships are involved.
Exactly. You can automate lead scoring and initial outreach pretty well, but closing a multi-million-dollar deal, securing a major strategic partnership, that often still requires a human touch, a real conversation, a relationship.
And beyond just the business side,
Yeah.
what about the founder's well-being?
That's the other huge human factor. Entrepreneurship is notoriously lonely, even with a team.
Doing it completely alone, bearing all that pressure.
Many founders, even if they could technically do it alone, actively seek out co-founders to share the psychological load, the decision-making burden, just to have someone to bounce ideas off of.
So the technical capability for the solo unicorn might be here, or very close.
But the emotional and psychological sustainability for the founder is a massive question mark. Can one person really handle that level of sustained pressure and isolation long term?
Then there are the practical risks you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's like sustainability and concentration risks.
Right. If one person is the architect, the strategist, the primary decision maker,
Yeah.
they become a critical single point of failure
What happens if they get sick?
or burnout. Exactly. Burnout seems almost inevitable without some kind of support system, whether it's co-founders, advisors, or even just a small trusted team. The model seems brittle over the long haul.
And concentration risk, what does that refer to?
It's about relying too heavily on just a few external platforms. Sources suggest many of these super lean startups run almost their entire operation on maybe 2 or 3 key AI services.
Like one specific large language model provider, maybe Zapier for automation, and one cloud host like AWS.
Precisely. Now, what happens if one of those core providers drastically changes its pricing, or alters its API access policies, or gets regulated in a new way?
The whole billion-dollar blueprint could potentially just collapse overnight. There's very little redundancy.
It's a significant vulnerability. And finally, we absolutely cannot ignore the legal liability question. This one's huge and largely unresolved.
Okay, let's say a one-person, mostly AI-run company does something wrong. It infringes on a copyright, or its AI makes a decision that causes financial harm, or it violates GDPR privacy rules.
Who is legally responsible? If the product's code was 95% generated by an AI, or the harmful decision was made by an autonomous agent?
Is the solo founder truly liable? Or are they just managing the system and the liability ultimately traces back to the company that provided the AI model? Or is the AI itself somehow liable, which sounds crazy?
It's a massive legal gray area. And that ambiguity needs clear answers before fully autonomous, high-stakes businesses run by one person can be truly viable and insurable. Hashtag #TagTag5ACT4, the viral engine of wealth.
Okay, so there are clear risks and hurdles, but assuming a founder can navigate those, whether they're truly solo or have a tiny support team, what fuels the growth? What powers this hyper-efficiency to unicorn scale?
Virality. Pure and simple. In this model, attention effectively becomes the new capital. And engineered virality completely replaces the need for a traditional marketing department with all its fixed costs.
You're saying one really successful viral post could do the work of
A multi-million-dollar advertising budget and a whole team of campaign managers, easily, if it hits the right audience with the right message.
So the founder's distribution strategy isn't about buying ads initially, it's about understanding algorithms.
Exactly. Understanding how platforms like TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, how their algorithms discover and surface content. One founder described these algorithms as incredible at figuring out how to reach the niche customer if you define them well.
So you need to engineer content for the algorithm, to some extent.
And for human sharing. There's a kind of formula often cited for engineered virality. Emotion plus simplicity plus relatability plus share loop.
Break that down.
Okay, emotion. Your content needs to trigger an immediate, strong feeling, shock, awe, hope, intense curiosity, maybe even outrage. Simplicity. The core idea has to be graspable in seconds, no complex jargon. Relatability. The viewer needs to see themselves or their problem reflected instantly. And share loop. It needs to be easy and compelling to share immediately.
Can you give an example?
Think about those posts you see. I built a 100K a month business using only specific AI tool this weekend.
Yeah, those get huge engagement.
Right. It hits all the points. Shock, the speed and income. Simplicity, one tool, one weekend. High relatability, appeals to aspiring entrepreneurs. And it practically begs to be shared or commented on. That's the formula in action.
And this ties into another key idea. Speed is the new moat.
Absolutely critical in the age of AI. If AI tools are rapidly leveling the playing field in terms of code quality or content generation.
Then your competitive advantage isn't just what you build, but how fast you build, iterate, and adapt.
Exactly. Being lean, being nimble, being able to pivot instantly, that becomes your unfair advantage. Which is why we see these insane growth stories, like GenSpark hitting $36 million ARR in 45 days. Speed was their defense.
And this speed is enabled by new ways of working, like vibe coding.
Yeah, that's a term floating around. It describes the ability, using advanced code generation models and AI assistants, to build entire functional minimum viable products, MVPs, sometimes in just a single weekend.
Getting from idea to production ready incredibly fast.
It combines the speed of building with the potential speed of distribution through virality. It's a powerful combination.
And this creates a kind of feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
A flywheel.
Precisely. A self-reinforcing flywheel. It works like this. Automation builds output faster. More code, more content. Virality expands your audience, often exponentially.
Yeah.
Leads pour into your automated system without needing manual handling.
Cash flow scales geometrically, as we discussed.
Right. And those profits aren't eaten by salaries, so they get reinvested instantly. Maybe into better AI tools, making the automation smarter. Maybe into highly targeted micro ads to boost the next piece of viral content.
Which increases the automation and output further.
And the system just feeds itself, accelerating potentially without limit.
It really drives home the point that the very definition of capital is changing.
Radically. It's not primarily about owning factories anymore or having millions from investors in the bank to get started.
Today, what are the key forms of capital for this model?
It seems to be fame, or at least highly targeted attention achieved through virality and code, but code in that broader sense. The ability to architect, orchestrate, and leverage these complex digital and AI systems effectively. That's the new capital, ###6. Conclusion, the quiet billionaire.
So when you put all these pieces together, the AI workforce, the scalable product, the automated funnel, the viral engine, you realize something else.
What's that?
This revolution, if it fully happens, it's largely invisible. It's silent.
How do you mean silent?
Well, think about it. There are no massive factories being built, no giant office towers scraping the skyline, no thousands of employees streaming into headquarters each morning, no packed boardrooms.
Right. It lacks the traditional physical markers of a massive corporation.
So the next billionaire, the first solo unicorn, they might just be one person sitting behind a laptop, maybe in a quiet room somewhere, commanding this vast, invisible empire of algorithms.
It represents a complete collapse of those traditional corporate advantages, doesn't it? Capital, labor, infrastructure. Those used to be the moats, the barriers to entry only the established players could overcome.
And now?
Now those barriers have largely dissolved or become incredibly cheap to access. The main barrier left seems to be imagination, paired with the ability to actually execute, to architect and manage these systems flawlessly.
So maybe the future billionaire doesn't own factories or huge tracts of land.
Maybe they don't even own the core AI models they rely on. They just rent access like everyone else.
So what do they own?
Perhaps. They own time. Their own time freed up by automation. And they own the complex, bespoke machines, the integrated systems they've built that multiply that time exponentially. They own the leverage engine.
It's a profound shift in where value resides.
And look, while the true, pure one-person company hitting a sustained, verified billion-dollar valuation or acquisition, that might still be, realistically, 3 to 5 years away, we need to see proof it can last.
But the underlying principle, the trend.
That is absolutely proven already. Just look at those insane valuation to headcount ratios we discussed earlier, like WhatsApp's $345 million per employee before this AI wave truly hit. The technology is here now. The systems exist. They're getting cheaper and more powerful every single day.
So what's the final hurdle? If the tech is there, the economics make sense. What's the biggest remaining challenge?
Ironically, after all this talk of technology, it seems the core challenge is still entirely human.
It comes back to the founder.
Yeah. Can that one person actually manage the intense loneliness, the crushing weight of responsibility, the immense and still unclear legal liability? Can they build and maintain the necessary human relationships needed for trust and scale, especially in complex deals, when the rest of their organization is silicon?
That human element, dealing with ambiguity, relationships, psychology, that might be the final and maybe the hardest hurdle for the one-person billion-dollar empire to truly overcome.
It very well might be. This is the age of invisible empires and the billionaires you'll never see coming.